Well, good morning, everyone. As ASCI president, it is my privilege to introduce to you our 2019 Commencement speaker, Matt Ramsey. As we all get set to walk across the stage, gather our diplomas, and begin to embark on the next stage of our journeys, many of us may have questions about how we will refer to ourselves and describe ourselves when people ask us. Sure, we will all be alumni in a few minutes, just like Mr. Ramsey. Some of the identifiers we will soon adopt might be medical school student, entrepreneur, employee, and those are pretty simple to describe. But can you imagine being Matt Ramsey? So, Mr. Ramsey, what is it that you do? Well, I'm a blue man. And a blue man does what exactly? Not sure. A Blue Man is a part of Blue Man Group, which is a performance group that incorporates humor, pop culture, rock music into a euphoric kind of dance party that brings all kinds of strangers together through these bald characters who are covered in blue paint and don't speak. Okay. When you put it into those terms, there are very, very few people on this blue planet who fit that unique description. Our own alumnus, Matt Ramsey, happens to be one of those longest tenured members of Blue Man Group. He grew up in Buell, Idaho, which means he has gone from Buell boy to Blue Man. Having a Blue Man as your commencement speaker does raise some questions, though. After all, blue men don't speak. Will this be the shortest commencement speech of all time? The non-speaking aspect is just one part of the blue man character. Matt Ramsey is much more than a character. He is an incredibly successful alumnus whose heart is as big as his talent. I encourage you to read Matt Ramsey's biography in the commencement program for some of the details. Because as a member of Blue Man Group since 2000, he has performed all over the world, has been on national television multiple times, and has also been featured in many theater performances outside of Blue Man Group. And it all started on a small stage here in Caldwell, Idaho, where he graduated with a degree in music and a minor in theater in 1995. He went on to earn a master's in fine arts in acting and directing from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, in 2000, and joined the Blue Man Group in the New York City area shortly after that, and has been there for the better part of 2 decades. It is our pleasure to hear from him today. Please join me in welcoming our 2019 commencement speaker, Matt Ramsey.
Hello! Wow, are you excited? A little nervous? Because I am. I am humbled to see that all of you showed up this morning to watch me become a doctor. You did not have to do that. I know that you have other things going on, other important things this morning, and I just really appreciate it. Thank you. I know you're not here for me. I'm here for you, class of 2019. Congratulations, you made it. You did it. You almost did it. You still have to listen to me speak, which is why I cut my speech down to about an hour and 45 minutes. I did that for you. To co-presidents, Jim Everett and Doug Brigham, Laura Turner and the trustees, faculty, staff, and students, thank you for the honor of being here and the opportunity to celebrate with you on this very special occasion. Being back here at the College of Idaho reminds me of how fortunate I was to have been educated here. I know all of you share the same pride and appreciation that I do. You experienced an innovative peak curriculum. You experienced a school with an outstanding faculty to student ratio, and I just learned that next year's incoming class, nearly 20% will be international students. That's absolutely astonishing. And all in an intimate and nurturing environment. Of course, that's not all you have to be proud of. You chose a college in world-famous Caldwell, Idaho. A city, according to Wikipedia, whose prominent features include, quote, a high-quality water system. That's from Wikipedia, it's true. You attended a college with not one, but two presidents. That's right. You know a bargain when you see one. Two for the price of one. You chose a college with a curriculum that includes a winter term. Now, I'm sure all of you took advantage of that with challenging courses like I did during one winter term when I enrolled in bowling. It's true. And listen, I know it's a cliche to talk about this, but you are so lucky to have gone through school with a smartphone and the technological advances. When I was here, like a study break for me meant face-to-face interaction. It was hell. I do not recommend it. But I persevered. I was able to overcome such incredible obstacles, and I graduated in just 5 years. That's right. I took 5 years to graduate. I am a fifth-year senior. It's a rare title. I know it's rare because when I looked up influential fifth-year seniors, not a single person came up, not one. So when the presidents of the college called to invite me to be your commencement speaker, I thought, this is my chance. I can finally give the internet an example of a fifth-year senior who has done something important. And thank you. Plus, they said I could keep this sweet robe, so I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And I'm going to get like a special doctorate thingy, too. By the way, I've already changed my email address to Dr. Ramsey at heckyeahI'marealdoctor.biz/yes. Email me anytime, day or night. I will respond. I'm a doctor now. I have responsibilities. I'm here for you. Also, as I was considering being the commencement speaker, I thought, who better to offer an example of what life is like in the real world than me? I know all about the real world. I'm an actor. For example, I go to work at 4:30 in the afternoon. When I arrive at work, I put on a costume and I cover my face in makeup, completely hiding who I really am. And then for hours, I try desperately to make people clap for me. My friends, if you want a picture of what it's like to work in the real world, that's it. Drink it in. When I arrived at the College of Idaho, I wasn't sure what I wanted to study. I liked working with others. I loved playing the drums. I loved music in general. But I wasn't ready to declare a major, so I remained undecided for my entire first year. My roommate at the time convinced me to sign up for men's chorus, and I reluctantly agreed. But after a semester, I discovered I loved singing. I signed up for other choruses. I was given a couple of solos. And then one day the choir director pulled me aside and asked if I had declared a major yet. I said I hadn't, and he told me I should seriously consider a major in voice. I said, no one in their right mind becomes a music major. I want to make a living when I graduate. That's not what I said. That's what my parents said. No, I'm kidding. That's my mom right over there. She's very supportive. Hi, Mom. And my brother, and my aunts and uncles and all kinds of family are here. They're very supportive. I followed the choir director's advice, and I became a music major, and I loved it. A few years later, some of my friends from my hometown of Buell, Idaho, anyone? I expected that. A couple of my Buell friends came to college here, and they became involved in the theater department. As I hung out with them and started to get to know theater people, I discovered that theater people are crazy. And I loved it. Eventually, my two buddies from Buell tried to convince me to audition for an upcoming play, and I told them, no way, there's no way I could be an actor. But then they dared me. They dared me to audition. And they said, even if I'd get the part, I wouldn't have to take it. I dare you to audition. So I did. I auditioned. I got a part, and I discovered that I loved acting. After that, I threw myself into the theater while still studying music. And I graduated with a major in music and a minor in theater. In other words, the perfect combination for guaranteed financial success. After I graduated, I passed up an opportunity to go to graduate school for music, and instead I pursued theater. I was hired at the Idaho Shakespeare Festival, and after that first season, I knew that acting was what I wanted to do. It was also that first season at Idaho Shakespeare that I met Professor Joe Golden, or as you all know him, Captain Sweet Cheeks. I just wrote that in last night. I thought it was funny. I'm sorry. That's for you, Joe. I looked up to Joe. Not only was he an incredible actor, but he was really funny. And for the next several years, I had the privilege of working with him, sharing the stage with him, and stealing his jokes. One day, Joe asked me if I had considered graduate acting programs. And I had, actually. I had auditioned for several graduate schools during my last year here at C of I. I did not get into any of them. I had lots of passion, but I had very little training, and I had no help. But now, with the help of my friend Joe, I thought I might have a shot. So Joe helped me with every step of the process. He helped me with my audition. He helped with the applications. He helped with the travel arrangements, even. And this time around, I had acceptance letters from lots of schools, but one program stood out. The conservatory at University of Missouri, Kansas City. You see, that's where Joe went, and so I knew that's where I wanted to go. 3 years later, I earned my master's degree, and the first audition I had out of graduate school was for this little company called Blue Man Group. I got the gig, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, what was once a little show in the New York experimental theater scene has since grown to be a world-spanning entertainment brand. And with Blue Man Group, I've had the privilege of performing all over the world. It's been an incredible adventure. I've performed with Neil Patrick Harris, Shaquille O'Neal, Jay Leno on The Tonight Show. I've been on Comedy Central, but one of the most memorable experiences was when I met Kevin Bacon. It was in a stairwell, leaving the theater. Kevin Bacon was coming down the stairs, and I composed myself, froze on the stairs, and said, "Mr. Bacon?" And he just smiled at me and said, "Good show." I feel like we're good friends. And I say that that was one of my most memorable experiences because I can finally say that I am 1 degree from Kevin Bacon. Which technically makes all of you 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon. So the common formula for commencement speeches is that I tell my story, I offer some wisdom based on my experience and successes, and I inspire you to go out and do the same. But honestly, the past 4 or 5 months as I've prepared for this, I've struggled with finding the message that I want to convey. I've been asking myself, what is it about my story, what is it about my experiences that are of value to you? Is it as simple as sharing my successes and hoping to inspire you? Am I just the sum of my accomplishments? Why am I standing before you today? And that's when I realized the most important thing I can offer you is advice in answering for you the very question that I ended up asking myself. Who am I? It's a question you all have to face. And so, I ask you, who are you? Now really ponder that for a moment. What defines you? I traveled with Blue Man Group to China recently, and thinking of that trip reminded me of this very question and the process of identification. When traveling abroad, you always have to carry proof of your identity, proof of who you are. When I was at the security checkpoint, I was asked for my passport. I handed it over, and the agent looked at it, and then looked at me, and then looked at it again, and then looked back at me. It turned out that this government-issued official document, which showed my legal name, my photo, my address, my social security number, was insufficient. I was asked to step aside to be questioned. I was required to provide the names of my wife and my children, the address of where I was staying while in the country, who my employer was, the address of that employer, the company I was in China to see, the nature of my business with that company, and so forth. It was necessary for them to see that other people could vouch for me. To properly identify me, they had to know my relationships. And I share that story because it represents what I believe are two essential steps that are necessary in finding our identity. The first step is this: look in. Know yourself. What do you love? What are your passions? What are your strengths? What are your dreams? Now, most of us are pretty good at this because we're fortunate enough to have grown up in a culture that sees the value in dreaming. We hear it all the time. You have the power you need within you to make your dreams a reality. You can do anything you set your mind to. Listen to your heart. Trust yourself. And there is great wisdom in this advice. You can accomplish incredible things when you are determined and confident. However, what you don't hear as much today is that when looking inside of yourself, you also need to acknowledge what you can't do. Don't dwell on it. I say acknowledge what you can't do. We don't hear that kind of advice that often, but that's something we all have to practice, to identify and face with courage our weaknesses, our fears, our anxieties, and our insecurities. One of the most gratifying parts of my job is training the new performers. I get to teach them the physicality, the behavior, the mental and emotional aspects of the Blue Man character. It's not enough to just learn the music and the blocking. They need to know how the character thinks, how it behaves, to understand the character's complete being. During Blue Man training, there's always a difficult phase when I ask the performers to only focus on their weaknesses, the part of the work that brings out their insecurities. And maybe it's the drumming, maybe it's the physicality, it might be their work ethic, the structure, or it might be their fear of looking foolish. Every performer comes into training with their own set of strengths. That's what got them in the room. But being able to identify their weaknesses is the only way they get the job. I believe one of the main reasons people love to watch Blue Man Group is because the Blue Man character represents humanity in all of its complexities. Not one specific kind of person, but all people. They connect with the character because they see themselves, their whole selves. Now, in our lives, it's uncomfortable to focus on our weaknesses. And when we do find them, the temptation is to overwhelm them with positive thinking, self-affirmation, or you might be tempted to ignore them completely. We must have the courage and the vulnerability to face our weaknesses. They do not define you, but whether you like it or not, they are a very real part of you. And I'd argue your weaknesses are just as important as your strengths because they are the part of you which make you realize you need other people. Positive thinking, empowerment, acknowledging your talents, they are all crucial to your well-being, yes, but because you're not perfect, it's just as important to understand that you need help. You need other people. So who are you? Look in. Look at your whole self, which should naturally lead you to the second step. Reach out. Connect with other people. Build relationships. Ask for help. Again, speaking of help, Dr. Ramsey at heckyeahmarealdoctor.net/yes. Anytime, reach out. When I look back at my journey from college to being here today, I can see so clearly that the signposts for my journey, the markers that guided my path, were in fact other people. People who saw my passions and talents and offered advice. I can see that the turning points in my journey represent the times when I listened to someone other than myself. My first acting role was after I accepted a dare from my friends who believed I could do it. Finding my way to graduate school was because I listened to Joe Golden, Captain Sweet Cheeks, who saw my passions and my talents, and he helped me. Understand that other people will be markers for your journey. 10, 20 years from now, you will look back and you will see that other people were instrumental in you finding your path. The sooner you begin building relationships, the better. You need other people. You just spent years of your life at this school and thousands of your parents' dollars accumulating knowledge and learning skills, shaping your minds. It would be a huge disservice to you for me to stand here and tell you, after all of that, to simply listen to your heart, follow your dreams, go with your gut. Those are essential, yes, but they are indicators of your potential. I want you to know that you have infinite potential and an infinite need for relationship. Understanding who you are is the true measure of success, and it doesn't come by convincing yourself that you are better than everyone else, but knowing you are better with everyone else. Building relationships may not come easily to you, so remember this. The strength of your relationships are proportionate to the depth of your vulnerability. Now, this is something that the new Blue Men, back to training, they inevitably struggle with. It sounds counterintuitive, but in order to realize and embody the energy and the dynamic range of the character, in order for the audience to be drawn to the character, the performers need to embrace the childlike, vulnerable part of themselves that need others. Think of the relationships that are most important to you. Those relationships which are the most intimate, the friends or family who know you, who know everything about you, and they still love you. You don't just show them your best parts. They know your worst parts. The reason the bond is so strong is because they know your entire self, your fears and your failures. Those, in my opinion, are your hidden gems. Make no mistake, we all have fears and failures, and those are the parts of you which allow others to relate with you. And those are the parts in other people which should sow seeds of empathy in you. So why is this so important? Unless you recognize your need for others, self-motivation turns into self-aggrandizement. Self-confidence turns into self-importance. Privileges you are given turn into entitlement. Gratitude into judgment. As you take this next step in your journey today, what do you want to face in the world? Arrogance? Selfishness? Entitlement? The world is full of that. Give our world something better. Know that you need others. So look in. Reach out. I believe these two things are critical for you to find who you are, to help your journey take shape. You can realize your passions and talents. You can build strong relationships with others who will help you achieve your dreams. And in doing so, you can find the kind of success that changes the world. But I have one more piece of advice, and I believe it is so important that until you account for it, looking in and reaching out will never bring you ultimate peace or satisfy your search for identity. My final piece of advice is follow something true. I thought of this recently when hiking with my family in the woods. We were on a path that was clearly marked, and it was very easy to stay the course. But I thought, what if I strayed from the path and couldn't find my way back? What if I got lost? How would I find the path again? Now, we've all been in this situation before, whether it's on a hiking trail or visiting a new city. We've all experienced what it's like to suddenly realize you have no idea where you are. If you find yourself suddenly lost, your instincts would probably kick in. You would access your memory. You would retrace your steps, your personal experience. In other words, you would look in. If that didn't work, you would naturally reach out for help. In a city, you might ask someone for directions, someone who has a different perspective than you. Or if you were in the wilderness, you would look for markers that might help you identify the path, signs or landmarks that would guide you back. You'd look in, then you would reach out. And if those fail, if they couldn't help you find the path, what then? You'd have to look to something greater, something bigger than us all, something true and constant. For our ancestors, it was the sun or the moon, the position of the stars. They would follow something true and unchanging, something greater than themselves, greater than their circumstances, that would help them find their way. Which brings me to an important question for you. What kind of follower are you? I'm here to tell you that unless you identify what you follow, you can never be a true leader. We are all followers, whether we like it or not. We don't like to be called followers. Society tells us it's more important to lead than to follow. Social media tells us the measure of our influence and worth isn't who we follow, but the number of people who follow us. My guess is that none of you would have come to this college if the motto were shaping young minds into followers, or creating followers since 1891. Well, maybe some of you. On the rare occasion when being a follower is a good thing, it's usually presented like this: follow your dreams, follow your heart, follow your bliss. Being that kind of a follower is okay, right? But listen carefully to what that advice is telling you. Follow your heart, follow your instincts. Speaking from experience, those things change. Your heart will change. Your instincts change based on your experiences. Your relationships will change. You'll change your mind. You will change. And that's by design. That's okay. But you won't find your purpose, and therefore your identity, following things that are bound to change. Follow something unchanging and true, something bigger than all of us. Now, what are the great truths that are worth following, that will benefit not only you, but all of humanity? What will you follow? Does it represent kindness? Does it represent generosity? Does it represent peace? Does it bring people together or drive them apart? It might be the pursuit of justice, a dedication to service, or the faith that you have found in something greater than yourself. These are things that are worthy of being followed. We are all unique combinations of what we find when we look in, what we accomplish when we reach out, and what we choose to follow. And while we all may have a different answer to the question, who am I? There is something that is inherently true about all of us. Something fundamental about our identity. Of all the things that will tempt you to follow, please Choose something that reveals what has always been and always will be true about you. And that truth is this: you are loved. I believe it is imperative for you to hear that if you don't feel loved, then you are following the wrong things. Stop following the voices that tell you your identity depends on your degree or your achievements or failures or your career. Those things will never define you. They are not and never will be who you really are. The truth is that each of you are accepted. I don't mean the kind of acceptance that comes from others who are similar to you, who have the same interests as you or the same skin color, political views, gender, cultural background. I mean the kind of acceptance that sees your inherent value regardless of those things. The truth is, each of you are precious, and I use that word intentionally. You are invaluable to this world, regardless of your degree, your profession, or your social status. What makes you different is what makes you beautiful, and your absence on this planet would tragically deny humanity of that beauty. The truth is, each of you are loved. A truth that is arguably the most difficult for us to believe, but it is no less true. There is love that is great enough to bind us all together, yet intimate enough to provide you with identity, peace, and purpose. The voices that represent these truths do exist. Seek them out and follow. My hope is that you will find all the success in the world, but above all, that you will orient your lives to something true, something bigger than us all, and in so doing, that you will discover what has been true about you all along, that you are loved. That is who you are. And you can believe me because I'm about to be a doctor. Class of 2019, I have tremendous hope for you. May you join others to realize your boundless potential. May you always follow the truth, and above all, may you always know who you are. Thank you, and congratulations.